So yeah, guys, we'll just get started. Uh, a very good evening to everyone, and thanks a lot for taking your time and joining this webinar. I'm Ram Kiran, and I have total of 4 years of experience in testing, and I'm with Mulya for past 6 months. I've been working in this cryptos and blockchain technologies. I've been learning quite a lot from these technologies for past 6 months, and I have completed my two projects, one in Ethereum and one in HLF. So that's a kind of experience I have. I'm so excited to share my knowledge with you guys, and yes, so stop me. I mean, you can just drop any query if you feel like having any slides. You can just drop it on the chat. We can later discuss on that part. So let us get started. Anupam, we are good to go, right?
Yeah, Ram, we are good.
Yeah, sure. So yes, let's get started with cryptos and blockchain intro. Um, I'm going to start with the evolution of trade and currency. So from where it all started and now where we are. So it all started with from the form of barter systems where people trade their goods in exchange of services, and that kind of trading was happening. And later, the next era came with the commodity market, where people trade the commodities like shells, homes, and then food grains in for trading purposes. And later, it came to the era of the metal market, where we use our gold, silver, copper, brass coins, and we started trading using them. And then there is an era where paper money and the electronic money has been in existence. So the paper money it's like the government or any central body issuing the money, and they call it as a promise paper. So this is a fiat currency and the economy. So this paper money will be pegged on some commodities like oil or gold, so that paper will have some money. So it will be pegged on that, and then we are in the current era of the electronic monies, where we don't really have a physical money, so we use Paytms and other wallets to transact our money, and we are getting salaried also in the form of digital monies. So there is no physical money. Here we use electronic cards for transactions. So here in this money, the era which we are in, but there are many frictions while trading in these two phases. So let's say there are like frictions like third party involvements will be there, like governments or central bank bodies and another financial bodies will be there, and they have their own policies and regulations and restrictions. And so these are the kind of frictions I see in the trading. And the next frictions will be like the payments and the settlement, or the two different process. If we cross border and try to do it transactions, it's really hard because and there the exchanges also will come into pictures. They have a commissions, and this process is really slowing down. So till this, from barter to metal market, so the transaction was based on the speed of human. So how far he can reach, and he can give the money and he can exchange this. But when it comes to the electronic era, it should have fastened more, but I feel like it's been little slowing down because of the frictions like which I mentioned. And in some cases, you will be having your account get freezed, and your money in your account will be not be used. You can't take it out at any point of time. So this is another friction which I see. And um, yes, so this speed and everything, and this governing body and everything has been fixed to some extent with the existence of cryptocurrencies. So this is how we have been evolving here. And the term this money is not new to our human mankind, because in 1900, in a place called Micronesia, there was a people called Yap, and they were trading using the limestones. So they were like transferring the limestones in tons of limestone from one place to other places, so that they can trade. So there is one interesting fact about this yap culture. So when they were transferring like this from one country to another, due to thunderstorm, the ship got sunk and the limestone went inside the ocean. So at that time, both the countries came into a consensus like we will agree that still this limestone which got fell into the ocean considered in our economy because it's ours. So virtually, without the existence of limestone, people started those days itself. And there is another interesting fact where the Bank of France in 1932 they asked U.S. government to convert their holdings which they are having into from U.S. dollars to gold, and they transfer it to them. So in that case, the transfer of this gold from one place to another is very hectic process. So both countries came into consensus like we will label the gold which is present in the US soil as belongs to France. So in this way, that is still the part of the France, but it's not physically available. So this is uh, uh, the it's been evolved from. So let us look at the existing payment transaction flow. And just take one example, like there is a card holder and there is a merchant, and this is A and B. But to transact the money from this to here, so these are the intermediaries. You can see the acquirer bank and issuing bank, and the clearance has to happen to both the banks to make this transaction happen. And then you have your credit cards and their network coming into picture, and there also there is a friction happening here. So this really slows down. So if a person A is sending to person B, there are many other third parties involved and the governing bodies, so that it will reach the merchant. So this is the existing flow which is available. So can you please move? Yeah, thank you. So now why cryptocurrency? So when there is an existing system and the people are okay with the frictions and everything, and why there is a need of this cryptocurrency? So when that comes into picture, there are some features of the cryptocurrencies, like it's very faster. So even if it is within India or outside it's considered as within a globe. So it's a person A to B who's connected to internet and he can send money. And there are some intermediaries like computers which deals with the transactions. And that's how the cryptocurrency works, and that is really faster. And here the trust which has been gained in the previous eras, like the trust being given by the governing body, like a central bank which governs, and which the government which governs the policies. So the trust is on them. So here the trust is established using the algorithms and cryptography. So the cryptography concepts we'll discuss in the later how it comes into this picture. Just this terms like algorithm and cryptography is the trust which people can involved in this cryptocurrency. Uh, so here the transaction will be P2P, I mean the peer-to-peer from A to B means only they have to do those two will be involved in this network, and there will be no intermediary, no frictions, and with the minimum fee. So here we have a minimum fee like a constant fee. So irrespective of the quantity of money which we are sending, it remains constant. Let's say you are transferring one Bitcoin, you are paying a fee of zero point 0.1 BTC. It remains constant even if you are sending 10,000 BTC. So that's the kind of technology which cryptocurrency is giving us. And this cryptocurrency concept is almost immutable because like this double spending and other problems which we are facing in the existing thing transaction flow, which will be eliminated here. And each transaction will be time stamped, so no one even try to fake it out. And here, as I said, like there is no central governance. So you have a true ownership of the money which you own, and you can send to anyone at any time, and there is no downtime, or there is no the hack or something which you should be worried of. Your money will be safe and you can use it anytime. Then I've been talking about the nodes. So nodes are nothing but for now it's like just a code which is being downloaded in your laptop, and when it is connected to internet, it becomes a node. So similarly, this kind of nodes will be distributed around the world, and when they become online, they will be used for this transaction. So that is what the cryptocurrency is used for. They use this underlying technology, and so because of this, the nodes will be scattered around the globe, and everything will be connected over internet. So you can transfer anywhere at any time. So that's what that is achieved because of this. And this cryptocurrency can evolve as a global currency, because if every government and everything is accepting mutually, this can be a common currency, because it doesn't bound to itself in the country. It is boundaryless, so that and it's constant to everyone. So that way it can evolve as a global currency. That's one possibility. And this is here we have the identities and everything will be anonymous, and no one ever knows like who's transacting and everything. But everyone will be having a ledger. The nodes will be having a ledger of the transaction happening, and it will be like just a cryptography key, which they will be seeing that this transaction has happened from A address to B address. But our details or anything will be fully anonymous. So these are the I feel the need of the cryptocurrencies. And next we will move on to the what is cryptocurrency part. So as the name says, it has two terminologies, which is cryptography and the currencies. So cryptographies are used in the place where the creation of public-private keys pairs, which we are using in our normal email transactions as well. So we will be having a hash, which used to cipher our emails, and the receiver will decipher it using the public key, and he will read the data. So it's the same thing which we are using it here for public-private key pairs. And there is a process called mining where this cryptography will be used. And mainly cryptographies are really used for two things. One is like mask the information from a physical site, and another is verify the information source. So from whether it's authentic and a real transaction which is happening, or kind of thing. So similarly in cryptocurrency, the cryptography is used to mask the info of the details of the users who's been transacting, and they'll be given address, and it will be address to address transaction. And as I said, the mining process is the process which validates the source of the validation of the transaction, so which we will see in the latest, like what's the mining and what the technology involved in it. So here again, this distributed ledgers. So those will also be cryptographically hashed, and they will be formed as a blockchain, so that the tampering of this details and the transactions, it's very difficult to get it back. Uh, and as I said, it's only fully anonymous, and it is tamper proof, immutable, like because in existing databases we have read write access, and we can do some, if a governing body is doing from backend, they can uh, change the values and everything. So if it's a normal database, so anything can be happen. So in this case, it's not like that. It's a distributor. If you want to change any values or something, you have to literally hack the whole blockchain, which is like we'll be having like 1 lakh or 2 lakh blocks in it, and each will be having set of transactions, which is really impossible. If the nodes are getting increased, then the possibility of getting it hacked is getting decreased. So that's what the technology is about. And here there is a main concept of like the payments and settlements will happen are the same activity. Like we saw in the existing, it will be two different activities, but here it's all in the same. So once you send, it will be received in the other end. So that's what this technology is providing us. So this is the overall concept about the cryptocurrencies. Now I will just explain a particular cryptocurrency which is so famous, like in existence, which is Bitcoin. So this Bitcoin came into existence in 2018 by it came as a paper, white paper, and it's been published in the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. And no one yet claimed the identity of this Satoshi. We are not known about his whether it's his or her, or it's a community of people who's contributing to the network. So it's kept very anonymous, and no one knows who's this. Uh, but the technology which he had provided created the trust among people, and people started using it. So that's how it became hype. And in 2009, the first block has been mined, and the block is called Genesis block, and we will see about the mining part in the next slide. And again, like other cryptocurrencies, we do have distributed nodes across the globe, so that so nodes are like nothing but the code of downloaded in a computer, and people are using it, connected to the internet, and people can make your computer as a node. And here in this technology, you can set your transaction fee. So how much you have to give it for the transaction fee. So let's say you are giving more transaction fee, then the probability of getting your transaction processed faster will be more. If you are giving it less, it will take lesser time, but it will happen. So you have to give a reasonable transaction fee so that the transaction should happen. So this fees will go indirectly to the miners, that we will see. And like other wallets, we also need the place where to store these bitcoins. So it's a digital currency, so it's like the wallets are like fully it will be like applications on web, on mobile, and even there are some hardware which supports storing of cryptos. So this will be used while transaction. And till now there are the paper tells like the user can mine 21 million bitcoin, and this supply is not given totally to the network. It's been done at the phases, and every 4 years this supply will get halved, and that's how they create this supply and demand, and the prices go ups and down. And so this is not a central body who's doing it. It's fully the algorithm which triggers after 4 years, and it halves the rates. And the next thing is like the Bitcoin is not a currency literally. So our government of India had banned this cryptocurrency usage because of telling it's a currency and it needs a regulatory. But later the court have been confirmed that this is an asset like a gold or land anyone can own, and its prices are depend on the demand and supply. So that's how recently, like 2 to 3 months back, the ban has been lifted and people have started trading in our country as well. So this is Bitcoin, and now we are coming to the mining part. So mining is the term which is used to as a synonym for this proof of work. So like the miners are there, so they are doing some work, and they're giving a proof for that work has been done. So that is what this mining is. It's about. So this miners, they will pick up the transactions which has been posted to them into the network. They will pick the transaction. They check the validity of that transaction, whether it's a valid sender and everything. So once it is done, they will create a block of such transactions. So let's say there are like hundreds of transactions. They club them together, and they will form a cryptographic hash, which is like in Bitcoin it is SHA-256 technology which they are using it for hash, and that hash will be giving a 64-digit hexadecimal output. Though whatever information which you are giving, there will be a constant 64-digit output hash value. So this process of creating that hash is called mining and proof of work. So in simpler terms, it is like there is there is a dice, and we are rolling it until we are getting the 6 number on the top. We've been rolling it. It's the same way. It's just a trial and error method. People give inputs to it with the data which we are providing to the SHA algorithm, and then it will give the corresponding hash values. So this is how it works. And here you can see something called ASICs. So it is called application specific integrated circuit. So this ASIC is like like a graphic card, external GPU, which we are fitting it into our computer. So our computer will not be capable of mining this cryptocurrency currently now, because there have been many competitions out there, and people are using their more computing power to get the transaction and to get the transaction to them. So that's how this ASICs came into picture. So people started buying a separate hardware which can just solve that cryptographical hash, and it can only does that. That's what they're doing. So many such things will be connected to our computer, and then they run it so that they will increase the probability of getting the transaction to them. And this is very costly. The devices are, so each A6 will be costing around 6 to 7 lakhs, and the amount of electricity used for it, it's really more, and for that also we have to pay. So that is a large number of investment, but for which you will get a return as well. But without knowing the technology, if you start mining using your node, then it will end up in a loss for you, because the value will be more, the investment will be more than the return. So that's one consideration which everyone should be aware of before mining it. So the concept is simple. The more computation power, the more chances of winning the reward. So here the reward is for mining such one block and that one hash. People will be rewarded by the algorithm some reward. So currently they will be given 6.25 bitcoins, and that's how the Bitcoin coming into existence. When the first block was mined, it was 50 BTC. Every 4 years, as I said, it's get halved the value. So this is the halving value which the algorithm does. So currently it is 6.25. After 4 years, it will even more go down. So in this way, the 21st millionth Bitcoin will be mined in the year of 2140. Is this one expected year. And so these miners will be having a privilege of enjoying the two fees. One is the transaction fees, which the transaction A to B person is paying. That will be go to the miner, and also the miner will get the rewards like this from the algorithm. So these are the two ways where the miners will get benefited. And so let me put all this concept into a transaction flow, and so that we will have a better understanding. So if a person A is sending to person B, so he will be having a Bitcoin wallet, and he scans the public key of a person B, and he fills the transaction amount and the amount which he has to send. So that's the part which the user is doing here, and machines will that's the remaining part. So this transaction will be signed digitally by the Rob's primary key, so that he validates that I'm a valid person. So then it will wait for 10 seconds, and it will be broadcasted to the network, and miners will pick up your transaction, and they validate it, and they provide a hash, which is a 64 digit. So once this is formed, then a reward of that money, and the transaction fee will also go to the particular miner. And this details of the transaction will be put up in a block, and it will be broadcasted to the whole nodes which is available in the network. So this way, the world network is the node. Each node will have a ledger, and they will copy this transaction. That there was some transaction happened, and we are copying it. So that's what they do it. And once it is done, then the person gets money. The B gets money. So this is the backend process which is happening in the Bitcoin life cycle. Yes. So I've been talking about this block. So a block looks like this. So each block will have a set of transactions, and it will be hashed. So this is the hash value which the miners are trying to provide. You can see it will be trailing by this many zeros. So this is the condition of this particular block to find a nonce value, which you can see here. It is like there's a probabilities numbers. So it just give these many numbers, and you will try to get with this data, you can create this condition of hashes. So here you can see this block has 70 transactions, and it has a timestamp, and this is the miner. So he is not willing to show his identity, so it's kept unknown. And number of transactions in this block is 2099, and this is a difficulty level, and which this also get increased when the halving is happening, when the reward is getting less. This is also happening. So this is a overall, and here you can see the transaction volume. So it is 1400 with this 2100 transaction is happening with the total volume of 1400. And here you can see the block reward is 6.25, which I said is a constant. And then we have a fee reward of this transaction these many transactions have given to this miners. So that is this fee reward. So this is all about Bitcoin. So there is the so this is one kind of uh, initial trigger which happened so that so that people can evolve over it. So which the Satoshi has in mind. So here we can see the next technology is called Ethereum, which is derived from the Bitcoin. So the guy called Vitalik Buterin himself, he and with this along with his friends, he just uh, pen down this Ethereum. So this uh, Ethereum concept is based on like he tells like the Bitcoin is not only for currency and transactions. So the technology which involves in it can be used to for our application, building applications and other things as well. So that's what his idea is about. So in this network, we will be using a currency called Ether, and which has been denoted as ETH. And here the same concept like distributed ledger and the decentralized network, everything is come here. But extra thing which is being provided from from the Ethereum network is like it will have support smart contracts. So contracts are like it's a normal contract between a A and B, how it's like. So that contract you can code it there and you can do it. So when I say contract about a person, it's different. When it will come to a application, so let's say Uber is there. For being a driver, these are the contracts you should be accepting, and the user should be accepting certain criteria. So in both the ways, this smart contract should work. But this when I tell you about the smart contract, this is a business logic of the application, and it is self-executing. No governance body here. So if you code and put it out there, and people can join the network and they can use your application. So in that way, it becomes a DApp, they call it. It's a decentralized application, so that no one owns the ownership of the application. But you can ask like, what's a point of being in this smart contract and giving the network the application? You can earn a little commissions which for each transaction as a business logic, and you can open source them, and so that people will understand, so this is what they are using it for. And this smart contract supports Solidity as a language, programming language. And Ethereum has its own virtual machine called EVM, Ethereum virtual machine, like a Java virtual machine, so that it will be acting as a runtime environment for our smart contracts running. And as I said, like there is no centralized authority who owns it. So it's a community driven, and anyone can join the network and mine the ethers. So the mining process, the proof of work, everything remains same here. So the next thing will be asset tokenization and ICOs. So asset tokenization means you can, the assets which you own, you can tokenize. So let's say you own a painting of Mona Lisa and you wanted to make money out of it or something. You can split the you can tokenize your picture and into a, let's say, 1,000 tokens, and you can give it to people. If you still want to own that uh, a piece of art, then you can keep like other, like how stocks are working, 51% you can own and remaining 49% you can give it for the people. So that the which is there out there, you can make tokenize it and make money of it. So that's one new concept which being introduced in this Ethereum. So when I come to asset, it can be anything. It can be art, it can be music, it can be land, it can be a security. Like if you have a factory and running and you have a uh, bonds and securities for it, you are trying to give it to the people, and so that you can get money out of it. So in that cases, you can use this Ethereum network, which is completely decentralized. No one can own it as well, and it's very secure. So ICOs, so it's like normal IPOs, into our initial public offering. So initial coin offering this is. So you can go to your exchange and give your tokens, and you can make money. You can list them in the exchange so that people can buy it and things. So on what basis this can be done is the application which you are doing, or whatever we are doing on the Ethereum network. Based on that, you can go for ICOs and make money for your applications, and funding can be raised. So this is one possibility which is happening. And in Ethereum, there is no supply. Like Bitcoin has 21 million Bitcoins, but Ethereum till now has it doesn't have any supply limit. So yes, So this is the app which I was talking about. You will be having a front end, normal like our normal front end, and it will be linked with the cryptocurrency wallet. So that for each transaction, it will fetch the money from it, and then it will go to the network. And the remaining process remains same with the Bitcoin thing. So the miners will pick up your transaction, they validate it, and they broadcast it to the network, and the ledger will get updated. So this is the DApp architecture. So if you see here network, so these are like types of network which is available, which is like centralized and distributed and decentralized. So centralized is like you have your DB and everything happen having in single place. Let's say Facebook is having its server in single place. So their possibility of getting it hacked is more because it's a single place. If he access that particular server, he will access the data. So this is there, and the single point of failure is there, and there is a downtime. So all the transactions, everything depend on this single database. So that if it is down, so everyone will face a downtime. If it is distributed, let's say same Facebook will be having a server in India, will be having a server in America and everywhere. So when an Indian is trying to access the Facebook, then his request and response will be coming from the nearest node which is there. So that is distributor. When it come to decentralized, it's the blockchain which we have been talking about. It's like completely distributed around the world, and anyone can join this network and anyone can leave this network. Just that they should be connected with the internet. Yes. So there are other cryptos which are available. Like you see, Ripple. Ripple is one cryptocurrency, and here in this blockchain, all the financial services and other things have been handled. So for that, they have created a separate coin called Ripple, and they can use it. When I say like financial services like payment gateways and others, so they can come into this Ripple blockchain and they can use this Ripple token to transact it. So that is one. And next is the Litecoin. So Litecoin is as Bitcoin is open source code, so people they can take it and they can alter and they can give it as a new coin as well. So that's what the Litecoin did. They just changed the transaction per second and the block times and everything, and they posted it as a new coin itself. So that's the Litecoin. And Cardano, they call it as a 3.0 version of blockchain, because here still now we have been seeing about proof of work. So it is very complex and very time consuming and kind of thing. So what happened is these people are coming up with a new consensus mechanism that where a miner will be required to stake his money. So let's say you have a 10 Bitcoin in your as a stake. So that's the trust which you are giving your people. Like, see, I have staked my 10 Bitcoins. So you can trust me and give them a transaction so that I can do the validation part and everything. So that's a proof of stake which they are working on, but still it's yet to be launched. Its coin is called ADA, and there is something called Tether. So Tether is called a stable coin. So its value will be always $1. The algorithm shifts its value to $1 automatically. So that's what this Tether does. This is because for easy conversion from fiat currencies to cryptocurrencies, people start using this Tether. So let's say I have a $1, I can easily convert it to a cryptocurrency called USDT, and then with that I can buy other cryptos. So that's what this Tether is doing, sir. And then there's a coin called Libra. So this Libra is Facebook's own coin. So they are currently in the POCs of this, and they are working on how to launch this Libra coins. So yeah, if a centralized body is planning for a cryptocurrency like this, it's really scary because there are two sides. What if like tomorrow Facebook comes and tells like has to give this much coin to use my application or something. So that's a problem which is existing thing, centralized bodies. I mean, users are facing the centralized body. So that is one thing, Libra, the Facebook coin. There are other countries as well. They're working on their own cryptocurrencies. So they are trying to convert their fiat currencies into cryptos so that they can cope up with this new technology as well. You can see Mcash of Dubai, crypto ruble for Russia, Jcoin for Japan, and this is the Republic China's coin. it is yet to be named, but for now they are just keeping it as a code as DCEP. And India, we have our own very own coin called Lakshmi coin, which is under this one. I mean, they are working on this project, but no one knows about the details and everything. But our RBI has this plan of launching it. And Venezuela, they have their Petro coin, and which is into existence. Venezuela has been giving it to the citizens, and they're asking them to use it as for payment, like other markets and everywhere he can buy things. So Petro coins and Aircoin. This is Aircon's own coin. So Aircon is a singer in the US. So he has his own city in Senegal, Africa. So he started accepting this one cryptocurrencies, and he has his own cryptocurrency called Acoin as well. So in this way, the Ethereum supports this actually. So you can you can create your tokens. Let's say you can create 1 lakh tokens and you can give it to people and use them based on the supply and demand. It will get valued. As of now, it will be like a fiat currency's value. And this is Sweden's coin, which is called e-krona. Uh, let me just go for like little facts about this Bitcoin technology, cryptocurrency technologies, which have been fascinating for past years. You can see like every May 22nd, 2000 from the 2010 year, it's been celebrated as Bitcoin Pizza Day. It's an interesting story. A person called Laszlo, he just posted on Reddit that he want 2 pizzas if anyone can order. And in return he will give 10,000 BTCs. Yeah. So 10,000 BTCs. So what happened? The person from UK, he just picked up this order. He called the local Papa John's and paid 2 pizzas, and in return he got 10,000 BTC. So poor guy, when this Bitcoin value got raised, uh, currently like it's today's rate, it's like 700 crores in today's value of a Bitcoin. So he just paid for 2 pizzas, and when it comes to the 2018 strategy, one Bitcoin was going up to 16 lakhs. So when it comes to 10,000 BTC, then that much amount is which what he paid for these 2 pizzas. And yeah, maybe he didn't feel that this much it will reach, maybe. And yeah, like I said, BTC, it reached all-time high for like almost $20,000, which is like 16 lakh rupees. So, but then currently it is being halved, and the rates are like trading only in the $10,000 rate. But still, people are predicting that it will skyrocket in another 150 days or something. But still, people have to wait and see what happens in this trend. So this is the place where the hype got created. Like, uh, if you put $10, you will get back like around $500 in back or something. So this hype created in this time period. But later, when people started understanding the technology, they really saw like what's happening in the back end, and now the rates is being controlled to $10,000. So there is an interesting phone called PandiX. So this guy, they have their own tokens as well. It's there in exchanges. So this phone, they can say it's a truly open source. When Android comes and says it's a truly open source, but still the mobile phones which we are using, we should be the designs are not open source yet, because whatever design the MI is giving, we have to use it. With Samsung is giving, we have to use it. So these people revolutionized that open source, and they launched this mobile phone where they can design their own mobile phones. And this is one such design which the user has designed. And so here we have a Pandix blockchain based OS as well, and normal Android also it supports. And yes, and this will support the all the cryptocurrencies, and it has their own wallet as well, so that they will store the cryptocurrencies and your public and private keys. So this is what they call it as a blockchain mobile phone. Yes. So that's part of the cryptos. And if you have any queries, we can discuss till cryptos before moving on to the blockchain part. Yeah, sure, Mali. Is there a question coming up?
Balaji, actually, like, hi Balaji.
Yeah, hi.
This is, yeah. I mean, like, just want to get some insights about this. I'm following a cryptocurrency called Beldex.
Okay.
So BDX, they will say. So it comes in that 5.0 version. You said like 3.0 version is there, right?
Correct.
So they promoting themselves as 5.0, and they are coming up good. So any idea about that coin? Did you come across anything like that?
Yes, actually, there are many such coins which been like in wordings and imaginary terms, like it will be there. But when it comes to actual existence, people can really think of it, because still 3.0 is in a research stage, and when people are talking about 5.0, really futuristic, but it should be in action, correct? So then we can still, because in cryptos there are like many rumors which just flows around like anything, so which hides their prices and everything. So
Okay.
yeah, it should be really in existence. Then there are many such cryptocurrencies are there which like this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll wait and
I
see.
know
The
like
trend,
more
the
than
trends are
2000 currencies.
correct. So the
Yeah, and
trends are changing now. People have been
yeah.
predicted that after halving, it will be skyrocket to some $1,000 and all. They have been telling past 1 year, but now
Okay.
they are telling it is like it will be having 150% of increase. So yeah,
Okay. And
we'll see.
one more thing,
Yeah.
Balaji, like as you said, like that
Mm-hmm.
mining the coin there, right? It needs a
Yes.
big network and with so much of costly machines.
Correct.
So
Correct.
what I could see in the LinkedIn and all, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are few mining companies which they say like you can be part of our company where you can help us in mining those coins and you can get the transaction fee. Is
Correct.
that
Correct.
something your other person, a common person, can work with the mining company? How it is actually? I didn't get that point. So if
Yes.
you have any,
Yes, it's just like our mutual fund kind. So we have a portfolio where we have other all money being pooled over there, and people will be doing transaction, right? It's the same thing. So they want a computing power. So if you have a
okay,
computing node or something, they are requesting for it so that they will become a mining pool, and whatever reward which is being earned by that whole mining pool will be shared among the people. But let's say if there are more than 50 percentage of computing power out there and we are giving just one A6, we will be getting just point out of it, but our investment will be more on it. So yeah, if it is a steady, we have done a steady analysis and everything, then it is, yes, it is a good one to go with the pooling.
okay. No, what I am
Mhm.
trying to say is like how a common man can help
Mhm.
the mining company who set up everything. So what is his role in that? That's what I want to understand. If you can,
Okay, what I
I mean,
understand
like,
is
as a,
he's requesting for a computing power or to set up those things. So there will be an initial investment from you, and he will be buying it. This can be one case, but I'm not
okay.
sure like on what
I,
basis it's been.
he no he actually what they said is like
Mhm.
we have everything set up for there. The
Okay.
only thing is like you will be part of us to do the transactions. I mean, like we need to encrypt or decrypt somewhere something. So
Uh, I'm
maybe
not sure about it.
okay,
Maybe
okay, no problem.
they are asking about the computing power which they want to share with you. Maybe that can be there, but those are
Okay,
the only possibilities.
okay,
And there are many, not to be so sure, but there are many frauds are also happening. Even I'm
true,
getting
true,
many LinkedIn like such things, and it's better to be aware of the technology and then get into it. Yeah,
true, true. I'll do that. Thank
yeah,
you.
sure. I see chat.
Good evening, Ram Kiran.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, this is Shwant.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate about the tokenization which you spoke before, like, with a clear example? Because the tokenization, which I know, is
Mm-hmm.
that replacing an asset
Mm-hmm.
or material with an cryptography or in any algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
Can I know how tokenization is used in this case, in this cryptocurrency?
Okay, so let me take an example of a land. So you own a land, piece of land, and it's there out there physically, but you want to make money out of it, but you don't really want to sell the land. So what you can do is you can take a piece of land and you can put it at its value over the exchange, and you can tokenize it. So let's say you are with that as a pegged value, you are going for a token. So 1,000 tokens you are giving, and you can give it for 1,000 people, or you can get money also. So when we are getting it back or return based on the hype of the land, you can increase the prices of the token. So you can give back the token. I will be, but it will be like 2 rupee cost. So it will be like that. So in that way you can tokenize. This is one such example. There are many examples like even music. So let's say there is an album coming out in the release, and people can own the part of ownership of the music itself. So they can tokenize that music as a pegged value, and they can give it as a token. If it is a hit album, then everyone will have their tokens as more value, and they can split across them. Got it.
Oh,
So this is the
oh,
tokenization which is there.
okay. In
Yeah.
simple terms, like you are attaching a value to an asset which you own in terms of crypto. So
Correct.
that is
Correct.
an funda of this tokenization.
Exactly. Correct.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Ram.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Madhusudan here. I just
Yes.
want to know, will this eradicate black money?
This has its own disadvantages as well. So, like you
Okay.
see, this is transparent, but it's still anonymous. So, if a transaction, even in black market, these transactions are happening. People are buying weapons and other things with this technology because it's completely anonymous. So, with this, uh, yes, it can eradicate black money, but there are many terms like everyone should accept a common currency, and there should be a regulatory policies which should be coming, and the whole network should be accepting to it. Yes, if those are implemented, yes, it can eradicate black money, but yeah, I don't think so. It will come into existence but it's evolving technology. Like I said, it may evolve to whatever it wants. You see, it's based on the users and others of it. Yeah.
Will it be threat to banks, existing banks?
Yes, their traditional method, with the traditional method, it will be a threat to them. But if they are upgrading to the blockchain and other things, then they will be coping up with the new technologies. So, like when RDBMS came into picture, how people moved from physical ledgers to RDBMS, it's the same transaction happening. So, like I say in the Ripple, like every financial institution are coming and they're having a common infrastructure so that they can do transactions. So, yeah, but yes, that's what the transaction should be accepted by the bank, then they will be used.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what about when it will be launched in India? Is there any?
Actually, because of this pandemic, every POCs and every research has been delayed little. There is no proper time frame till now, but yes, but we have just a news that they are working on it. That's it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Ram.
Sure. So we will come back to the questions in the later part. I will just move on to the remaining part of the session, so then we will complete it, and then we can have the discussion if everyone is okay with it. So then, okay. Now we have a concept of blockchain. So this blockchain and cryptos are totally two different concepts. So the good things from the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies have been extracted and been plotted it as a different technology called blockchain. So this is nothing to deal with the cryptocurrency and the new technology called blockchain. Those two are different. So yes, so what these people have been like from Ethereum also we have seen like instead of just trading, we can use it for programmable. The blockchain can be used for programmable as well. So this is what the people thought. So instead of just trading, this technologies can be used for our normal supply chain process and other healthcare, drug tracking, like this process we can use it. So that's what they thought, and they plotted this blockchain. all concepts of the cryptocurrencies will be here, which is like decentralized, peer-to-peer, no third-party involvement, distributed ledger, and it will be faster because of it just only computers will intermediary, and it is highly security. Like we see, like the cryptographic hash are nearly impossible to hack, and immutability. So let's say if you have RDBMS, we can update the details from the backend. So let's say there is a centralized body who is just telling that tomorrow in your account is just only 100 rupees you are having instead of 1,000. Then this is possible in this current thing, but that won't be allowed in this blockchain, because every other node should accept that this change is there, else it will be replaced. So this is one. So in current internet, we are just sharing a copy of the original. So let's say you are sending an email, or you are sending a photo, or you are sending some image or videos or something. You are sending actually a copy of the original. So the original is still with you. So this is the current internet is giving to you. And in case of assets, like let's say a stock, like a vote, a land, or the loyalty points, which like Ubers are giving, Uber and Myntra is giving, like their loyalty points, and your real money. So these kind of assets, we can't do it as a copy. So let's say because of this copy, there will be a double spend also. So let's say there is one person sending A and B, also both A and B, same $10, and he can tell like the digital copy can be created in existing systems. So this kind of double spends and fraud and data misuses should be stopped. So that's the underlying technology of this blockchain. And so it's not a good idea to send a copy to everyone. So in existing this trust, or in this transactions are being provided by banks, governments, social media firms, and e-commerce. So let's say if FB, for Facebook is there, WhatsApp is there. So there is a central governance who can provide, apply, ask for money tomorrow, or they can change the policies and regulations, and so those kind of things are there. So so this trust and everything is being given by the third party. For what for? So this is for the providing the application infrastructure and the record keeping. So they're having our data, and they are telling that we will be keeping it safe and everything. So those kind of trust, but how much you trust a third person is the question. So in blockchain, this trust is being provided by cryptography and the code here, just like a smart contract, or it can be a chain code. Like it's algorithm which is giving you the trust, because you are not believing on the third party, and the authenticity of the assets. So let's say you are buying a leather bag which is worth of like 10,000 rupees, and how much you are sure that that is a real leather. So those kind of tracking and transparency can be achieved using this blockchain, and movement of assets without intermediaries. So let's say I have to send again the money concept. So I have to send 10 rupees to person A to B. Why should I give to bank, and bank has to settle that amount, and then it has to go to the receiver? So that's one thing. So again, the ownership, you will own your actual ownership of your money and everything. You'll have your ownership, and you will be having a ledger which is tamper proof. This is what is happening. So what they are telling is the big blockchain can be can change the way people use the internet. So let's say from internet which is used for information can change to internet of value. So if I use the internet, if I'm using it, it should be adding some value. So those kind of things can be achieved by blockchain. Let me give you a simple example. So let's say there is a advertiser and there is a viewer. So here, the advertiser has to pay some money for the viewers. So because he's paying his time, and he's investing his time to view the advertisement, out of which what he's getting. So that's what is here. So this can be achieved. This has been achieved by a token called BAT as well, which is called the Basic Attention Coin token. So they have done this. So like if you are viewing my advertisement for this many times, and you are giving a like or share something, based on that, these guys will be getting some incentives. So these kind of things can be achieved only in blockchain with the existing of the cryptocurrencies working along with the blockchain. This is one possible. So I'm just trying to realize, like with this blockchain, the way we look at the technology will be different, the existing internet and everything. So there are types of blockchains. So there are like public permissionless, private permissioned, and private permissionless. So as the name says, so it is public permissionless means it is public to the network. To everyone. Anyone can join the network, anyone can leave the network, and anyone can use the benefit out of the network. And it is not permissionless. No one can give the permission also. Same thing in public permission. To getting into the network, you need permission, but other concept remains same. So that is one type, and the other is private permission. It's like only private, and it is only limited to certain people, and it is permissioned. Anyone can enter this network only with the permission by the certificate authorities. So yeah, because this come into picture when a company like a bank, they don't want to give their transaction details public and to everywhere. So they created their own public private blockchain, and they started using it. So that is what here. And private permissionless. So this is another way also, like private, it is private, but anyone can join it. So that's kind of thing. So the nodes will be private. No new node can be signed up, but people can without any permission, they can enter the network. Okay. So the existing blockchain, if you see, there are public permissionless. Bitcoin and Ethereum are one such example. And private permission, you have a blockchain called Hyperledger, where we can create our own blockchain with the existing databases and everything, and we can create nodes and we can make use of it. And there is a called enterprise and consortium. Here in this, what happens? People people with similar minded will come together and they form this blockchain. So let's say there are banks. So all banks will come together and they form a blockchain. That's what happened in the case of Quorum. This is JP Morgan's blockchain. So they created an infrastructure, so any banks can use that infrastructure to do the transactions. So that is one thing. And R3 Cora is another example for the same. So similarly, like let's say for supply chain alone, we want a blockchain, we can create our own, and that is already in existence. We will just see the use cases and implementation in the next slide. Yes, so these are the real-time already implemented this technology. So what happens? This is a trade lens. This blockchain has been developed in the partnered with IBM and Maersk. So this is for shipping solution. So what they have done is like they call there is a problem which the Maersk has been facing, and with the problem statement they went to the IBM. There is one clearance certificate which the shipping is having, the shipment is having, but it has to be authenticated at each places where it's cross. Let's say it's crossing from India to America, it has to go via Africa and each country like North America and South America, and then reach the America. So in that case, each port has to give clearance for that certificate, and then only it can move. So this time-consuming paperwork. With this problem statement, it went to IBM, and they created this blockchain where every port can be part of that blockchain, and you can post your clearance certificate over it, so that all the authentications and everything will happen in seconds. While we crossing the border only, we can just we can see the clearance coming up for the shipment and going. So that is the one thing which is coming up, which has been already implemented by TradeLens. And there are other cases like Everledger. So Everledger is for diamonds and goods tracking. So let's say you have a diamond which is worth of lakhs, and how authentic you feel it about. So these people, what they do is they're posting all the details on the blockchain, and when it reaches the user, he just scans the QR code, and then he can see the track of the whole diamond, which is coming from the mining and distributor and the middleman, and who handled it, who shined it, and everything can be seen. And then the user will have a trust on the product. Okay, it's really authentic, because nowadays you can see this ISI certificates are also being faked. So this way they're doing, but still you can ask like QR code can be faked. In this case, what they have done is they have printed the QR code on the diamond itself, so that it can be scanned, and it can be it's very authentic. We can prove it out. This is not only for diamond; they're using for other, costly goods as well, like leather products and many other products. We have a tennis bag which is worth of 2 lakhs also, which is having we are having 1,000 rupees worth also. So in that case, those details can be put up in this blockchain so that people can get a trust and buy your product. So IBM Food Trust is the same thing. They are tracking food tracking it is used by Walmart. So what they are doing is the food which is getting transferred from other countries to them are being tracked with this IBM Food Trust, so that no one can edit. So let's say there is a rotten meat which is coming to Walmart, and they are like finding it difficult nowadays, like where it came from, which batch it's been like that. So if it is in blockchain and everything, so they can see like, okay, this is from this batch, and we can just destroy that batch. So those kind of tracking are been happening. And Steam is a decentralized social platform. So like our Facebook, it's a same thing, but it's a decentralized. So based on your views and your likes, you will be earning money out of it. So this is what the Steam is providing. So a real loyalty. So like a real loyalty points kind of thing. So in Facebook, we are just simply liking, sharing pictures, and when it comes to here, it costs. So you will be very cautious in clicking the like button and everything, so that in this way the quality of the application will be increased. So that's what they're trying to achieve. Again, it's another example for the this one transition from this one the internet of information to internet of value. So other blockchain implementations are Open Bazaar. It's a P2P e-commerce. It's like Amazon and Flipkart. Anyone can join the network and sell the product, and anyone can get the product. So there is only two people involved. Why there is a third party like Amazon to get involved and do things. So everything will be done in this blockchain and the thing. And the basic attention token, which I told before, the advertiser and the consumer. So because consumer is investing his time for viewing the advertisement. So in that way, he will be earned, and advertiser in turn, based on the interest of the people only, he will be getting paid. So that's where this thing is happening. So these have happened, and in India is also there are many institutions trying to implement this blockchain into their existence. So like a Coffee Board of India, they are they are POCing on a farm to fork solution, where from farm till to your fork, what's been tracked, where it came from. So those details will be in the blockchain, so that when you buy coffee, there are different qualities of coffee, and there are many frauds also happening. So to eradicate this, Coffee Board of India is 3D scanning each coffee bean and putting them in the blockchain, so that the coffee bean which you are buying will be very authentic. The trust they are creating out of it. And Niti Aayog, they have many projects in the pipeline for like land records, pharma supply chain, education certificates. So there are many frauds in education certificates we have been seeing it. So those can be eradicated. And energy trading, these kind of projects the Niti Aayog is working on. And Andhra government is working on the land registry solution, where like now we are having, still we are using in all over India, like we are writing in a ledger, and the data has been still in papers. So what the Andhra government want is they want to digitize, but in a better way with using blockchain. So that way, let's say you are having a piece of land, and you can see the past 10 to 20 owners of the same. So like that, it's a type of solution. So that there can be double spending again here. So nowadays there are two people registered in the same land, and they're telling theirs is original. So these kind of problems can be solved with this. When coming to the testing scope in new, actually, the underlying technology is not hackable. It's very secure and everything. But when it comes to the UI part and other things, it's still hackable. Let's say it's a UI, it's a normal JavaScript code which can be hacked by normal hackers as well. So that's there. So the endpoints and other users who are getting into the network and other things, there are a lot of testing is required to make sure the product is quality when it goes on. Because it's a basic game. If you see, if a person loses money for a simple transaction, it will cost him more. So in that case, we have to be sure that there should be so much of this one testing had been done so that there would be no edge cases where the money people can use their money, lose their money. So this is what the type of testing scope which these technologies have. As this is a new technology which is evolving, so there are many testing challenges which have been coming, in the unit testing phase, integration phases, APIs integration, because API integration is one big part, because this is having not a normal DB, it is having a network, and how we are connecting the network to the APIs and then connecting to the UI. That's a very challenging part. And then again, performance. So we are creating our own blockchain. How much throughput is giving? So performance is needed, and securities again, like I said, should be security should be more, because there shouldn't be any hack happening. And almost, so this technology had opened a new branch of opportunities for testing. So it's what I see, but it is not only limited to testing. So developers and the people in pharma, finance, everyone, because this technology is being disruptive in almost all the new upcoming our fields which are existing, let's say supply chain, drug tracking, and if you can see the port management, everything. There are governments which are trying to build their governance on all on blockchain. So there are many opportunities out there for all type levels of people, and they can contribute to this blockchain community. So this has opened a new set of opportunities apart from the existing one. So this is not replacing anything or something, but this has just opened a new branch. That's it. Yes. So we are done with the session. We can go for the questions.
Hi Balaji, this is Vikas.
Hi.
So the blockchain is not only with reference to cryptocurrency,
Mm-hmm.
it is also with reference to the secure transaction and whatever the last projects you explained, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And when it comes to the cryptocurrency, it has a lot of chances and probability of getting hacked or cheated because it's not a centralized transactions.
Correct.
But on what basis there is a future with reference to cryptocurrencies these countries are planning for? Because I heard like when say for example when you want to purchase any of the cryptocurrency, you obviously need the fiat currency, and then again whatever you gain from irrespective of whatever method, then again to get back into the same fiat currency, I mean you cannot use the same cryptocurrency to buy anything legally. Again you need to convert that into fiat currency. So on what basis they say this has a future? Like how much belief we can have it on this cryptocurrencies?
Okay, got it. So what countries are trying is like they are trying to modify their existing fiat into cryptos. So let's say we are having INR, they are planning that to move into cryptos, so that it will be backed based on the INR values. So similarly, USA, if he is building, he will be based on the dollars, he will be building the thing. So it will be pegged on over the existing fiat currencies, and he will be building it. But like you said, this is very difficult for the countries to accept it. But uh, they have to do this because the underlying technology, this has been accepted broadly by everyone. So they are pushed to follow these things. If not, so let's say the Bitcoin is there. So let's say a person A has been invested 10 lakh rupees. So the 10 lakh rupees from his existing fiat currency has been converted to cryptos, for which he can't earn tax, he can't earn commission, anything out of it. It's gone from this economy. So these are the type of problems which they're facing because people started using it widely. So they have also pushed to a level that they have to convert this to support the existing cryptocurrency so that they can stabilize their economies. So that is what the scope I see for now. But as I said, still it's been evolving a lot. We have to look at like how countries are going to take this forward. Like China is giving its own coin, but it's going to be used only among them. It's not going to be international transactions. So let's say They are giving their own salaries, person salaries. They are giving it in their own coin. It's just like a fiat currencies now. What way they're using, and they're accepting in the stores and everything, which comes back to the government, which is like a normal fiat currency. So yes, this there are modified cryptocurrencies will be used in existence is what my feeling is. Because
Okay, thank you. Because earlier evolution of the Bitcoin, that is BTC cryptocurrency,
yeah.
I heard that that has came into place due to some reason, and they had a plan that in the future the entire world should follow a single currency, that is BTC. Now, for example, every country is having their fiat currencies. Though US dollar is acceptable worldwide except few countries. So that is where they plan to replace every currencies, and BTC will become worldwide, and they have to accept over the globe. That is where the plan with all the mutual understanding between the countries. But
Correct.
we could see a lot of cryptocurrencies are coming into place. So that is
Correct.
where the confusion starts, like
Mhm.
whether only the BTC remains as a top, or there are other cryptocurrencies comes into place. So
Yeah.
these are the
Actually,
chaos which is happening. That's why.
correct. Correct. Actually, if you're in cryptos, you'll be knowing that Bitcoin is not a full perfect product which has been there. Even everyone knows about it because it's evolving technology, but it has created that hype which is needed for the remaining of the technology. But now what people are predicting is only the altcoins will be there, so that it's based on something, it's pegged on something, correct? So let's say my application is there, it's pegged on my application, I have get written a token. So it will have a value because based on my usage of my application, the value of that crypto also will go up. So that kind of transition is seeing in the crypto world is what is happening. What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ganesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because more worry is just because when we follow the great investors like Warren Buffett,
Mm-hmm. Actually,
Bill
there is.
Gates, or whatever, they say, don't believe this virtual currencies. There are no future for this because it is nothing. There is no physical asset exist. When you have
Correct.
a physical asset like money or fiat currencies, which is
Mm-hmm.
handled centrally by the bank, there is a proof and trust, and also
Mm-hmm.
guarantee by the bank that okay, that is something valued. But when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
virtual currencies like the cryptos, there is
Mm-hmm.
nothing in this. So that is
Yeah.
the reason there are a lot of difference of opinions, and we get into confusions what exactly is happening when it comes to crypto.
Correct,
So
correct. All our predictions are also going wrong because for past 10 years people have predicted it will go like this, but now based on the people mentality it's changing. And also there is one talk going on. I just saw an article like Bitcoin is becoming centralized because the three mining pool which is having the 51 percentage of this one computing power is based out of China. If those three sign up together, then they will own the Bitcoin. Then there is no point of using it. Correct. So in that way it is going centralized is what they are predicting, but still yeah, that's what I'm telling. We have to wait and see what's going to happen because its evaluation is happening based on the different community people and different thinking people.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you,
Oh,
Manoj.
yeah, thanks a lot. Nitya Lakshmi, how the value of Bitcoin is decided, who will authorize the value? uh, Nitya, it's the value is based on the fully of the demand and supply. So like we can see every 4 years the demand of that the supply of the Bitcoin will be less, will be halved. So the existing Bitcoin value can go up because the same Bitcoin you can't sell it for the same price. So let's say I'm buying a Bitcoin for 100 rupees today, tomorrow I'm selling it for 120. That's how it's getting based on the supply and chain only. These values are decided. And so when it is decentralized, so it's a community of people who's thinking and making the hype and everything. So that is what happening in the Bitcoin. So Gautam had no asked, no single person decides a value, which entirely depends on. Okay, you had answered the previous question. Thanks, Gautam. Can we continue this question? Oh, okay. Thank you for asking for the question. Yeah, because if they get the Bitcoin as a ransom, it will be very anonymous, so people can't track who to which account it has been given. If you are getting it as a fiat currency, with this existing SWIFT technology, we can find out which account has been transferred and we can track them. So that's one thing which the hackers are following. again, yeah, this is like the other part of the coin. I mean, other side of the coin where like there are some things which should be handled in blockchain to better to eradicate these kind of things. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Pangaswamy, for your feedback. And maybe Bitcoin blockchain says given rise to the quantum computing. Yeah, this is one possibility which people have been speaking, like using the Google's the newly launched the quantum computing can have. They are telling they can uh, break the hash value and they can go back. I mean, backward compatibility. That's what they're telling. But what I feel is like so much of computing power using that and seeing a transaction detail, what they're gonna try to do. So that's what I see it here. So much of investment for just to track the track the transaction and details. It's not a good idea. But when the quantum computing is also increasing, there is like the other world like cryptography, where like more cryptography concepts are coming into picture and making it more difficult as well. So there will be a balance, and yes, that's where the other fighters will be fighting with like I'm creating a computing power and I'm creating the new cryptographics. Yeah, so that's how this technology is going to be there. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah,
Do you
I
have
have another doubt.
yes.
Please elaborate, like how many nodes at an average verify the or authorize the block?
Mhm.
And second question is like what is exactly that's consolidated or consortium networks?
Okay, okay. So I'll first answer your consortium. So consortium is like, as I said, like it's a similar-minded people coming into a consortium and they're building their own blockchain. So let's say I'm just sticking with the financial terms. So if you have banks, so let's say we have SBI, we have a central bank, and we have ICICI and HDFCs. But altogether, what they're trying to provide is loans, and then that they're handling the transactions. So the underlying technology which they are using will be the same infrastructure. So what there are people like Quorum and Ripple are trying to do is they provide that infrastructure so that any bank can come into the thing and they can use that underlying technology. So it's they're giving an infrastructure. So if I'm HDFC bank, I should be having my own servers and my own things. So which will be I need to put more investment. But here it's a common technology. It's not I mean a common baseline where everyone can invest. They pool in their money and they can share the infrastructure cost. In that way, every bank will be a consortium and they can use a blockchain. But still, it's very challenging part because it's like I can share my details, one detail to other banks, which is like competitor and everything. So that's where the private blockchains will also come into picture. So now what happened? People are trying to build a blockchain which will have all concepts of everything almost. Like it should be permissioned and it should be private and it should be consortium, and networks can also be public. That is also one concept is there. So front end it will be a permission, back end it will be a public. So that way also they are trying to do it. Yes, again, as I said, it's evolving technology, it's been changing, but as of now consortium means is this. So the other name for the consortium, if you can take enterprise, it's like enterprises. So let's say a supply chain company, like 2, 3 companies are coming together and they're forming a consortium. They can build their own blockchains and they can track it. So that is what is that.
I mean, it's
And
a blockchain as a service, like how we call software as a service.
correct, correct.
Yeah, okay. So it is a private one or a public one? Because 2, 3 companies share resources and they don't want to share with them. So it
Yes.
looks like in public at the base, but also look like in private at the application level. So
Correct.
it's
So
like
that's a different total type, like a private public blockchains. So that is a different type. So those are the 4 terms for private, public, permission, permissionless, and they just intersect with each other and they can form a new blockchain. Yes, yes, Arjun. Fine. Any other questions?
yeah, asked about how many how many nodes is applied in authorizing a block in an average.
Uh, Actually, each blockchain have their own conditions as well, I think. Like some will wait for like 6 to 4 node confirmation, and some will wait for 10 confirmation. So it's a blockchain which decides it. So if you are making your blockchain, you can decide how many confirmations you have to wait for to make it.
Okay, that means it varies with blockchain. It is with the hands in the creator, like the person who
Correct.
created the blockchain decides that.
Correct. Yeah.
So that means if there are more nodes, there is more secrecy and there is more decentralization. Also, there is more computing power involved.
Correct, exactly. So when it comes to more computing power, its difficulty also increases to crack it. More people has to fight for that transaction, and it will become nearly more impossible to hack. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions, guys? Okay, if there are no questions, then we can wind up. Thanks a lot, guys, and thanks a lot for giving me opportunity to share my knowledge as well, and you have given me some inputs as well. Sure, like this field is getting evolved, and people are we have to be so enthusiastic like how it evolves, so that we can also evolve along with this. So all the best, guys, and yeah, thanks a lot.